I'm Penelope Roskell. I'm a pianist, I'm a professor of piano, and I'm also an author. I've written a book on healthy piano playing called The Complete Pianist. But most specifically for the purposes of today, I'm an injury specialist. I run a clinic for BAPAM, the British Association for Performing Arts Medicine, where I work with a medical doctor and we help musicians who've experienced injuries to recover as quickly and as effectively as we can. So on 3rd of August at 10:30 a.m, I'm giving a webinar with Hara Truly, who also works for BAPAM. She's a medical specialist, and this is going to be specifically for pianists. We're going to be talking about preventive methods, about ways to recover, and we can also answer any questions that you might have. Unfortunately, many keyboard players do experience injury at some point in their career. A typical time is when they go to music college. Suddenly they're practicing a lot more, the demands are much higher, and they may be getting a little bit more stressed, and the little habits that they could cope with earlier on now come to the fore and may result in injury. Another time is when people become busy in the profession. I work with a lot of professional accompanists, for instance, people who are repetitors, musical theatre directors. They often can't pick and choose when they have a rest. They have to work long hours. And we're also doing a lot of typing and texting, so the hands are being used a lot. So it is very, very important to learn strategies for keeping healthy and also to know what to do if something does go wrong. Well, obviously keyboard players are using the upper part of the body mostly, so it's important to know how to sit comfortably. It's important to have relaxed joints, particularly the shoulders, the elbows and the wrists. And so we need to be able to relax those joints while keeping a good hand shape, because we don't want the hands to collapse and then certain muscles are being overused at the expense of others. We want to keep the muscles in balance, so everything should be in as natural a position as it possibly can be. We also want to learn how to coordinate the hand and the arm so that, for instance, the hand isn't overused, the fingers aren't overused. So if we want something which is powerful in our playing, we learn to use the stronger muscles of the shoulder and the upper back. We want to learn how to minimize the impact of the hand on the keys. If we're pounding away for many, many hours and we've not learned how to soften that impact, that can be a trigger for all sorts of injuries. We also want to avoid unnecessary stretches. That's something I work on a lot with pianists, of how to avoid unnecessary stretches, so that, because when we're stretching out a lot, often it causes a tense wrist, and a stretch with a tense wrist is again another cause for potential problems. And also one very typical problem is playing with high curved fingers. This can cause a lot of tension in the forearm, can cause lots of potential problems. So we're learning how to use the hand in its most natural way, learning how to use movements that we would use in our normal everyday life, but how to translate that at the piano so we're using the minimum amount of effort, but for the maximum musical result. Both Hara and I have a lot of experience of working with pianists with injuries. We both find that a multi-pronged approach is the most effective. Anybody who's experienced an injury needs medical advice, which Hara will be able to give. They need an accurate diagnosis. They need advice on possible way forwards. They also probably need some help if it's a piano-related injury. It's related to the way they've been playing and their technique. They may need some advice from me about how to modify the technique just in small ways. It's often a very small little tweak that's needed, which will help them recover more effectively and make sure that the problem doesn't come back again. So we find that working together with the different people with different expertise has a much more powerful effect for any pianist who's got a problem. We've both got good understanding of each other's works, so we understand the language, and I find one of the things that's most helpful is that I can often act and translate in a way what the medical profession is saying, and with my experience help them to understand what that means to them as a pianist. We'll be talking about the different injuries, the different conditions that pianists most commonly suffer from. We'll explain the causes that can lead to that, so that will help. Once you understand that, it'll help with prevention. We'll be talking about effective practice methods which can avoid injury in the future. Most importantly, of course, we'll be talking about ways to recover if you have experienced an injury. And that will be, medical ways forward if that's required. It might be ways to change the technique. And most importantly also is to show ways forward, so once you are recovered, to make sure that you don't relapse, that you don't have any subsequent problems in the future. Do join this session, whether you're somebody who just wants to learn more about preventing injury or whether you actually have any problems of your own. We'll be welcoming questions. Please bring them along, put them in the chat during the session, and Hara and I will do our best to answer as many of them as we can.